Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. Well, coming up in just a few moments, we're going to go live to the Dove's new home, and we're going to give you kind of a little bit of a bird's eye view of what's going on over there, because 1 week from today, we will temporarily go off the air as we make the big move to the Dove's new permanent home. But first of all, I think you'll find very interesting an interview that our own Steve Johnson did with Wesley Smith. He's the author of a documentary called The War Against Humans. In other words, today's environmental movement and an urge to defend human dignity before it's too late. Let's join Steve and Wesley now.
Well, we're happy to have with us Wesley Smith. He's a senior fellow of Discovery Institute's Center on Human Exceptionalism, and he's also the author of quite a few books, including A Rat is a Pig, is a Dog is a Boy, The Human Cost of the Animal Rights Movement, also The Consumer Guide to a Brave New World, and Culture of Death, The Assault on Medical Ethics in America. He also writes a popular human exceptionalism blog at the National Review Online. You might have read that. It's good to have you with us. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You know, in the news, we're covering all sorts of stories that have to do with environmentalism and environmental actions that are going on, which I think are quite different from those of conservation efforts, although we haven't really defined the difference between those two. But we're hearing a lot about whether it's the popular topic of global warming or climate change, as it's called now, or whatever. It looks as if you have been looking at this from a bigger scenario about what is really pushing what you see as the environmental movement. Tell us what I'm seeing a theme with a lot of your books. What conclusion have you come up with?
Yeah, you know, when I started doing this kind of work, which was at first against assisted suicide, I hadn't come up with this kind of overarching connecting of the dots understanding. But the more I got involved in things like utilitarian bioethics that seek to create distinctions among the quality of human life in terms of value, animal rights, which has to be distinguished from animal welfare, but animal rights seeks to create a moral equality between humans and animals. And now in the environmental movement, which has not only ceased to be what it once was, which was to promote human thriving in the context of using responsible environmental practices, which of course is something we should do, it's become positively anti-human. How many times these days do you hear, whether it's in global warming advocacy or other kinds of environmental agitation, that humans are the cancer on the planet, we're the AIDS on the planet, we are the ones who are the enemies of the planet. And this becomes a very disturbing thing. It's not a healthy approach. Let me give you just an example.
Okay.
You've seen, probably, at least certainly my age, we used to go to these sci-fi matinees, and there was a great old science fiction movie called The Day the Earth Stood Still. And it starred Michael Rennie, and the movie was about an alien who comes down to Earth with his killer robot Gort. The alien's name was Klaatu. Mm-hmm. And Klaatu has come to Earth in 1951, in this version, to save humankind from itself, because we're developing atomic weapons. This is when the Cold War was starting, potential for nuclear conflagration. And so the alien comes to save human beings from ourselves because we're worth it, right?
Okay.
In the 2008 remake, they have the exact same story of what happens to the alien Klaatu when he comes to Earth, but the mission of the alien is completely different. In the 2008 version, the alien here is here to commit total genocide. That is, to kill each and every human being on the planet to save the Earth. That's a gigantic difference. And spoiler alert, at the end of the movie, we talk Klaatu into not killing us all. And he says, all right, I won't kill you all, but there's going to be a price. And as he leaves the Earth, his spaceship issues a pulse, and we are rendered completely non-technological. That would kill billions of people. The message, and this is A-list Hollywood, Keanu Reeves. The message is that human beings are the enemy. Human beings are the villains. And you're also concomitantly with that seeing agitation for things like nature rights. That is, the rights of nature to be co-equal to those of people. And let me give you an example I have right here of how this is defined. And often, by the way, it's kind of a neo-pagan earth religion. This is from the Constitution of Ecuador. Nature, or Pachamama. Pachamama is the Incan earth goddess. Where life is reproduced and exists, has the right to exist, persist, maintain, and regenerate its vital cycle, structure, function, and its processes and evolution. That's a right to life for nature. And the idea for this is that if the rights, and they mean it, the rights of nature come into conflict with those of people, then you have to go to court to determine whether nature wins or whether people win. And the chances of court are very high because everybody is entitled to sue to protect the rights of nature. Now you might say, well, don't worry, Wesley, that's Ecuador. It's a small country. They're not real powerful. It's also in Bolivia. Well, that's also a small country. Well, it's also in 30 cities in the United States, including Pittsburgh, which is closer to you, and Santa Monica, which is closer to me. I grew up in Los Angeles. I know Santa Monica like the back of my hand. There's no nature left in Santa Monica. The reason for making a nature rights declaration is ideological. Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of the United Nations, supports nature rights. And it has been, uncoincidentally and not surprisingly, proposed for inclusion in a global warming treaty to fight global warming. And what would this do? This would bring human thriving to a screeching halt because we couldn't make use of the resources that help provide prosperity. So you see in global warming, and this is the anti-human consequence of these kinds of policies, the desire to reduce our prosperity in the name of saving the planet. And what will that mean to the destitute countries such as in Africa that may be very resource rich but haven't been able to really get their act together in terms of creating prosperity because of cultural problems, no rule of law, things of this sort? They would be stifled from actually obtaining the kind of prosperity we enjoy in the West. And that's why you see proposal after proposal to take hundreds of billions of dollars from Western countries, developed countries, transfer that money to underdeveloped or developing countries, but that's just going to turn them into dependency cultures, which isn't a healthy thing either. So what's happened in the last 20, 30 years is an anti-humanism has infected the environmental movement. It is dangerous to our self-perception as unique and important beings of unique dignity and importance, and it is undercutting our ability to provide for humankind in a way that will provide good and decent and healthy lives. So it's very dangerous, I think, and that's why I called the ebook The War on Humans.
Okay. I want to let our audience know that we're talking to Wesley Smith. He's a senior fellow with the Discovery Institute Center on Human Exceptionalism, and we're talking about some of the trends that he's seeing. Let me ask you about the motivation behind all of this. You know, if you took a biblical perspective, it says that men and women are supposed to subdue the earth. It's not the other way around. Where is this coming from? You talk about the change in 25 years. Why? Why is this changing?
I think there are a few things at work here. One is I think I call the green movement has turned brown. By that I mean when you mix green and red, you get brown. There is an unnecessary anti-free market ideology that has really entered into environmental activism, which is very, very ironic considering that the most polluting societies in our world today have been and are communist. The Soviet Union was a terrible polluter, and today China is probably the worst polluter on the planet. Secondly, I think there is a desire to destroy Judeo-Christian moral philosophy as the backbone of our civilization. Judeo-Christian moral philosophy, which I'm distinguishing from the faith for the moment, sees the individual human being as having unique dignity. That is the basis of our freedom. That is the basis of our prosperity. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, among which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's the fundamental founding premise, in essence, of Western civilization today. Third, I think there is a desire to destroy Christianity as a faith, because many on the left in particular, but view it as moralistic. And there is I think a desire to marginalize Christian influence within the society.
And that's having such an impact that you're saying that Does everybody within those movements understand how these are all linked together, or are they somewhat drinking the Kool-Aid, so to speak?
I would say that that not everybody is sitting around plotting these things as I've described them. I think many in the leadership certainly understand that they want to destroy Judeo-Christian moral philosophy because they don't believe in human exceptionalism. Animal rights activists, and this has to be distinguished from animal welfare, which is a human duty, that is treating animals humanely. But animal rights says that humans and animals have equal moral worth, and they base the ability to have rights on suffering. That is, if you can feel pain, this is the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals type people, then you have rights. It's called painiance. And so since a cow can feel pain and a human being can feel pain, a cow and a human are equal, and therefore what you do to the cow is the same as if you did the same thing to the human. Now, that's very destructive. Listen to this. This is from PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. They had something called the Holocaust on Your Plate campaign, which they tried to convince young people. And by the way, a lot of this is aimed at the young. And there's a reason for that. And I hope your listeners and viewers will talk to their children and ask, what are you being taught about environmentalism? What are you being taught about the place of human beings on the earth? And you might find that your kids are being taught that they're the enemies.
You know, let me, before you go further, let me just ask you this. Do you, this is fascinating. I'd love to take another 15-minute segment with you. Do you have time to do that?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Hold on there. I have a lot of questions asked, and I know that you have more to let us know about it. I'll mention that we're talking to Wesley Smith, Senior Fellow of the Discovery Institute Center on Human Exceptionalism, and we're going to be back talking more about how the environmental movement may have changed totally from its emphasis a couple decades ago. It's coming up here on Focus Today in our next segment.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
Well, welcome back to Focus Today. Steve Johnson here with you, and we're talking with Wesley Smith. He's a senior fellow of the Discovery Institute Center on Human Exceptionalism. And we're talking about the environmental movement in broad terms and how it has changed, getting into more specifics to all of this. And is there really a war on humans? Save the earth at all cost, and do not consider the aspect of the humans who are, according to a biblical premise anyway, supposed to be the ones in charge and, as it says in the Bible, to subdue the earth. I appreciate you staying on with us for another segment here. I want to ask you a little bit, if we have this environmental movement, if I can summarize it, that has changed from what it had been to now more of an activist view against humans and saying we have to have laws that provide for nature as opposed to the humans who live on planet Earth. Normally we have a point-counterpoint to issues. Is there any kind of opposition to this particular trend you're seeing, or is it so fragmented that some of these laws, as you mentioned, can be just enacted in countries and cities and steamroll over any other views that capitalistic society might have?
You know, one of the things that I see happening in the environmental issue, particularly around the global warming controversy, is the idea that there's not allowed to be a give and take. There's not allowed to be a point and counterpoint. How many times have we been told in the global warming controversy that it's a fact, that there's no debate, that it must be done? And in fact, the LA Times has gotten to the place where they have announced that they will refuse to print letters to the editor that question the reality of human-caused global warming.
Wow.
So you have a real tinge of authoritarianism moving into this field. One of the things I point out in the War on Humans is that you've got a lot of mainstream environmentalists now extolling China as the model. One of the things that many in this movement want to do is have radical depopulation, human depopulation. Well, and then they look at China's one-child policy as having been the right approach. But look what that's involved: forced abortion, female infanticide, eugenics, a terrible tyranny, babies ripped out of their mothers' bodies against the mother's will. And yet these good, genteel, quote, liberals say, well, this is the good way to go. But take a look at the results of the China policy. They have not reduced the number of Chinese people in their country. They have slowed the rate of growth of population. Imagine what it would take to just even reduce the human population by 10%, the kind of draconian, deadly policies. Now, a lot of these people would never support those kinds of policies, but that's the only way they're going to get from here to there based on what they say they want. And you've got a lot of very radical kind of crazy people like the Unabomber who pick up this kind of thinking and may do things that are very untoward. Well, and again, I'm sorry?
Well, I was just going to say, if we have then a group that is able to effectively get legislation passed, you mentioned in Ecuador and Bolivia and other cities.
In 30 cities in this country,
right,
and potentially in the United Nations Treaty on Global Warming.
Is there any stopping this for people who are opposed to it? Because it sounds like it's kind of being steamrolled through.
Well, part of the reason it's being steamrolled through is that people are not aware of the distinct anti-humanism that this way comes, which is why I'm doing the work I'm doing, not only in terms of the ebook, but the Discovery Institute with whom I work, and I'm a senior fellow there, as you mentioned. They have a companion free YouTube video that's a documentary on this that people can watch if they go to waronhumans.com, and it's a 30-minute, it's free on YouTube. They can take a look and see what we're talking about. And my books, which are on the War on Humans books, are on Kindle and Nook. And one of the things this is my first ebook. Usually I write hardcover books, but one of the things that I found really helpful in terms of this ebook is like when I mention that there's a commercial out there called No Pressure to support an anti-global warming initiative, and that this commercial literally blows children up who refuse to accept global warming in a very vivid and graphic and bloody way, people can say, well, is that true? But there's a link in the ebook. It'll take them on their e-reader to the website where they can see the commercial themselves. So for me, this is really an interesting experiment, because rather than just footnotes and describing, people can see for themselves a picture's worth 1,000 words. I think if people wake up to what's happening and then their antennae are up for the anti-humanism, and when somebody says, oh, human beings are cancer on the planet, you can say, we're not cancers. We're the only species that have duties. We're the only ones who look to engage in responsible environmentalism. Look at the tremendous benefit that has been received by the proper use of resources, and fight back against this. I think it's really important for the children, though, to hear a positive human exceptionalism message, not just in terms of being made in the likeness and image of God. I'm not saying that's not part of it, but also the idea, look, any other species, when a seal washes up on the beach like they do here in California, other species will either eat that injured seal or ignore it and allow it to starve to death. Humans save that seal. There is a difference about human beings that is we should teach our children, that is not only in terms of we have unique value, but also that we have to fulfill our human responsibilities, our duties to ourselves, our duties to our posterity, our duties to treat animals humanely and properly, and our duties to treat the environment in a responsible manner. That's a positive message that can lead to prosperity, as well as reasonable environmental practices, a clean planet, and so forth. The target number one of the environmental movement right now is the Alberta tar sands, which has the potential to bring so much energy to the world and kind of wean us off of the Middle Eastern oil and heat our homes and fuel our transportation and so forth. They're trying to close that down. There's an environmental activist agenda item called ecocide. Ecocide seeks to criminalize as a felony akin to genocide, which shows you again in anti-humanism. The idea that mining copper is the same thing as Auschwitz is really disturbing. And let me read you the definition of ecocide. Ecocide is the extensive destruction, damage to, or loss of ecosystems of a given territory. The territory isn't defined, by the way. It could be a field. Whether by human agency or other causes, to the extent that peaceful enjoyment by the inhabitants of that territory has been severely diminished. Guess what? Inhabitants doesn't mean people. It means the trees, it means the snails, it means the lizards, it means the birds. Therefore, you see an elevation of flora and fauna to the same level as human beings. And the target that they're after most to prevent is the Alberta tar sands. They've had a mock trial in the English Supreme Court to show you how far this has come, where they found two fictional CEOs of the Alberta tar sand oil companies guilty of ecocide and jailed for extracting oil from the land. That's where this is heading. The media doesn't cover it because the media wants to convince everybody that global warming is real, and the media thinks that if you stand up for human exceptionalism, you're some kind of a dinosaur. But human exceptionalism is essential for freedom, for dignity, for liberty, and prosperity. And when people realize that this attack is on, I think they'll stand up and say, we're not going to go down this route.
All right. Just in the brief time that we have, is it your experience that some of this, you talked about teaching our children, is any of this being taught as a curriculum in our schools, from what you know?
Anecdotally is all I can say. I haven't done a study of the approved curricula, but realize a lot of times things are done in school that are not necessarily approved. This is an anecdote. I have a friend who has a granddaughter, and they were driving in the Sierra Mountains. She's about 3. And they pulled over into a restaurant because they were going to get a bite to eat, and they saw a digger digging in the earth. And the little girl got very upset. She said, "Don't let them hurt the earth, Grandpa. Don't let them hurt the earth." And he looked at her and he said, "Honey, where did you get that idea?" And she got it in her Episcopalian nursery school. Wow. So, I mean, this is very serious stuff, and I think people need to be aware and just pay attention, and you might find out there are things going on you didn't expect.
Yeah. Well, this, we have only talked about the iceberg. We've just hit a little bit on this. I appreciate your explaining some of the things you're seeing. To see some of the details, that you mentioned YouTube videos, if they go to waronhumans.com, what is it that they'll see there?
They'll see, first off, a link to the documentary that's free, the YouTube documentary, 30 minutes, based on the book. And there's some things in the documentary that I don't have in the book, and there are things in the book that are not in the documentary, but that's produced by the Discovery Institute. And then there are links to the Kindle and Nook version of the ebook. It's $1.99. We want to alert people that this is happening so that we can maintain a society that is prosperous and free.
All right. Now, the books that you have written and the blog on National Review Online, is this something, I don't know, is National Review something you have to pay for now? Or can they see that for free?
No, yeah. You go to nationalreview.com and you look at they have a blog list. I write the Human Exceptionalism blog, and I try to connect the dots between things like euthanasia in Belgium, where they are literally now coupling euthanasia with organ harvesting, where they've just legalized euthanasia for children. And in that law, children have to write a letter saying, "Please kill me." It's amazingly cruel.
Wow.
To the animal rights problems, to the nature rights issues. And I'm trying to show that these things seem to be different issues, and on a certain level they are, but over above, there's an overarching connection of anti-humanism that links them all, and I think it's a sign of the times. And I'm hoping to let people see, listen, there's more of us than of them, but we have to be aware of what's going on and can't just roll our eyes and say, oh, it can't happen here. Anybody who says it can't happen here has been asleep for 50 years.
Wow, fascinating. Our guest has been Wesley Smith. Thanks for being with us. Again, a senior fellow with the Discovery Institute, author of several books, including A Rat is a Pig, Is a Dog is a Boy, The Human Cost of the Animal Rights Movement, also The Consumer's Guide to a Brave New World, and Culture of Death, The Assault on Medical Ethics in America. Thanks very much for being with us.
I appreciate it.
Wow, what a powerful story. All right, a lot to consider there. Coming up next, we are going to go live to the Dove's new home, give you a little bit of a bird's eye view of what we're going to be doing 1 week from today.
Hi, I'm Daniel and I work at theDove TV. Compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, But at the Dove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Well, welcome back. As you know, the Dove has been been working on a project for a long time, and for years we've been looking for a permanent home after renting for 30 years. And really through just divine intervention in so many ways, the Lord has made an opportunity for the Dove to buy its own home. And that's a long story for another day, but we, in the last several months, have been working very hard preparing the new facility for a move. And we've had our challenges, we've had our setbacks, and we continue to do so, but we're moving forward. And we have now set the date 1 week from today. The Dove will probably go off the air for a couple of hours, both radio and television. Then we'll be back on both radio and television with programming, but we won't be doing any live broadcasting for a couple of days. All of that will start 1 week from today. So what we thought we'd do is kind of give you a little bit of a sneak preview of what's going on, because there's still a lot of work happening at the new building. And our plan is to move in, get settled, get back on the air as quickly as we can with live broadcasting. We figure that's going to take several days of work to get that all put back together. And then after that, we still have some more development to do by putting in some walls and things like that. But our own Bruce Workman's out there right now. He's standing there in the Dove's new building. How you doing, Bruce?
Hey, I'm doing great, Perry. How are you?
Doing great. You got you're standing right there with a big Dove poster in the back. And what's going on out there this morning?
Well, I'll tell you, you know what the 3 elements of success are, don't you?
I'm about to find out.
Timing, timing.
Yeah.
And if we would have, the reason I set up here was we just had one of the guys that are working on our air conditioning system. He was up on a lift doing the air conditioning unit up there, doing the final calibrations of it. And it was really pretty cool to watch him work up there. But I don't know if you can see it on the screen there, but, you know, right above the Dove sign is one of those really cool Mitsubishi air conditioning units.
Yeah, there's one there, and there's one over your head, and the other one there. So there's 3 right there on that wall.
Right.
And that's a big, long story how that all came about, and we're going to put that together. But they are in, and I guess they're doing the final cranking them up this morning, right?
Well, just since I've been here, he's been up working on this end, and he's got all 3 of them calibrated and fine-tuned. So, boy, we're getting very close.
All right, behind you, Bruce, is a black box there. You can maybe point to it there, and you see some wires coming into it. That box there is going to house our microwave equipment. The microwave tower has been constructed, the antenna's already been hung, and the feed line making all that work has been pulled into place. Also, we have put into place all of the wiring for the satellite dishes, but the dishes themselves will be moved over when we go off the air at this end. The cubicles are done. I think you're about 2/3 of the way moved in your little spot, haven't you?
Well, maybe 7/8 after today.
Okay.
I'm anxious.
I know you are. And you're looking down at the TV studio. You see where we moved the lighting grid a little bit.
I do. And you know what, Perry? If you don't mind, maybe we could try doing... give me a chance. I'm going to hop off of this little table here, and I'm going to turn the camera around, and you can describe it.
Go ahead, and I'll talk here just for a moment while he's doing that. We are going to have to go off the air for a little bit, both radio and television. So I want this to be a warning. We're not going away, nothing major, but there's no way we can avoid not going off the air for at least a couple of hours, both on radio and TV. Then what will happen is that we'll come back on the air with radio and TV with programming, and everything will be normal, except we won't have live programming involved. You won't hear Jerry Bilden. We won't have the morning show for Thursday and Friday of next week. In the meantime, while all that's happening via computers, behind the scenes, we are going to be working very, very hard, wiring everything back together. So it's going to take a whole day to unplug everything and then move it over. And then it's going to take 2 or 3 days to plug it all back in and make sure that it all works. And that's kind of the game plan. And I just want to say to all of you who have been so gracious in helping us with this, thank you. And I know that those are 2 words that sometimes can't really convey the emotion that we feel and how you have been so supportive in helping us do what we do. It's been a big project. We've had a lot of challenges, believe me, a lot. Some that have been very discouraging. But we got through them. God's help, we got through them, and we're now down to the last couple of days. So we had to set the date. We're going for it. It's going to happen. Our plan is to get into the new building, get set up, and then after we're settled down a little bit, we still have some work to do by constructing some walls. But in the meantime, the phones are in, all the IT services are in, the satellite wiring and the dish set up, all that's been plugged in and ready to go. The microwave system's up and ready to go. So we've done a lot of pre-wiring. Our engineer, Bill Witt, and support teams have worked hard. And a lot of folks who behind the scenes have made a lot of things possible. It's all coming together. And I will say this because I have to, because it's just one of those realities. When you budget for these things, you budget the best you can. And we did what we could. And we are about $15,000 to $18,000 short. And I say that because there are some expenses involved in things that had to be done that we didn't think had to be done. Some things ended up costing more than we actually thought that they would. The air conditioning system is a miracle, just a big miracle. And I'll explain that at another date when we're all settled in. But we've had some other challenges that were very expensive to correct, and we had to do that. So if you can help us, only do what the Lord's leading you to do, and we pray about that. So you pray about that and only do what the Lord's leading you to do. I don't know, did we get him turned around in there? What are we doing in there? We lost him? Can we get him back? Okay, we're going to see if we can get it back. We were going to turn the camera around so you can kind of get another view of what's happening out there. This building, folks, I have to tell you this. I have been looking for a building for the Dove for over 5, almost 6 years. We thought we were going to be in this building that we're in now. We thought we'd be here 1 to 2 years. We ended up being here almost 11 years. But when I started looking for buildings, I became very discouraged. I mean, we looked at things, we couldn't afford them, we couldn't make a deal. One thing happened, another thing happened. I mean, just a myriad of all kinds of things that went on with this. And so I was pretty discouraged. But sometime, well, about a year ago, about August of last year, this building came back up for us to consider. We prayed about it. Our board prayed about it. We went and looked at it. We thought hard, and all of a sudden we realized that this building is perfect. It has high ceilings, which is great for television. It has concrete floors, which we need to control sound. The building was pre-wired with electrical services, unlike anything. There's no way we could afford to put in the electrical service that this building has in it. So it is ideal. All right, Bruce, you there?
Hey, I'm back here. And as you can see right behind me, I don't know if you can pick it out, but that's where our TV studio is going to be.
Yeah. That's the big lighting grid that many of you helped us purchase. That's been constructed and put up. And that's actually in a room where we still have to build the walls around that particular room. We're going to move in without those walls. So the morning show is going to be kind of airy. But the reason we did that is this is the easiest way to do it. And Bruce is standing in front of the new cubicles where a lot of the staff will have their own personal, what do you call those things? You don't call them cubicles anymore. What do you call them?
They are modular workstations.
Okay, modular workstations. And then over to your right is another set of modular workstations. Those are actually editing bays for the television guys, right there. And then point upstairs. See that window up in the, no, over there. That's where the radio studio's going, up there. There you go. All right, Bruce, you did a good job, man.
Well, thank you. It's always fun to get out here and see what's going on and the progress that we've made each day.
Yeah, it's we're pretty excited, and so you're going to have some cool air in there later, huh?
Oh, it's looking, it's going to happen.
All right. See you, pal. Thanks.
All right.
All right, Bruce Workman live from the new Dove home. Pray for us again. 1 week from today, here's what's going to happen. We're going to do the morning show live. after the morning show, we're going to pull the plug, both on radio and television, and we will be off the air for several hours for both radio and TV a week from today. Sometime during those days, we'll get back on the air via computers, but we won't be able to do any live broadcasting until the following Monday, as we will be working hard wiring everything back together. So if you can help us with a little extra this month, we certainly need it, because there are some additional things we got to take care of. But most importantly, please pray. It's still some dangerous work. We have to climb some towers. We have to turn some antennas around. We have to move a very heavy satellite operation over there. So pray for us, okay? Thanks so much. All right, stick around. Doug Gould's going to be with us, and I always love having him in the studio, and I think you're going to find his report to be pretty inspiring.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Okay, we're back, and I'm always delighted to have in the studio with us today Doug Gould. He's the Executive Director for Foundations for Recovery, and I got to tell you, this ministry is changing lives unbelievably. First of all, I want to hold up an award and say to Doug and his whole team, congratulations.
Yeah, pretty neat.
What is this? Tell us about
this. This is the Best of Medford. It's a program each year that the program the Medford Chamber does each year, and we were recognized as Best of Medford for Drug and Alcohol Treatment and Prevention Agency here in town.
Isn't that wonderful?
So, isn't that cool?
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, we're excited.
Well, it's one of these ministries that's setting all kinds of records, breaking all stereotypes, and most of all, getting the jobs done through redemption, right?
Amen. Exactly. Absolutely.
That's wonderful. You got a big event coming up, buddy.
We do. First of all, I want to say thank you for having us back, and congratulations on the building. That looks wonderful over there.
Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah, it's cool. And they are cubicles, by the way. They're not glorified workstations, but anyway. But we're excited. This is an event that we have planned for this coming September. And we received a small grant from Crater High School. They have a project over there called the Community 101 Project, which consists of 3 different types of foundations. And we put a proposal to them last school year. And after through a long process of a review, we were awarded a small grant to hold a recovery fair in Central Point at Robert Pfaff Park, right behind the post office, to put a positive face on recovery. But also, we're going to use this event on Saturday, September 27th, to kick off a new division of our foundation, which we have decided, Perry, to go ahead and start offering peer-based mentoring, recovery coaching to the youth of our community. Wow. We are seeing an overwhelming need. We are in a county epidemic in reference to drug and alcohol addiction, and it's starting younger and younger. So this new division that we're going to be starting at the foundation is going to be ages 11 to 17. 11 to 17. Absolutely.
Peer mentoring, counseling for students at that age that have a problem.
Absolutely. We want to work with the local churches, the local youth groups, community centers. We want to work with Hearts with a Mission. We want to work with Youth for Christ. We want to work with the agencies here in town that want to help benefit the kids in reference to abstinence, education, treatment, prevention, and recovery. One of the things, the reason why we're doing the fair is because in the world of addiction, there comes a stigma or a label. One of those people. But we want to put a positive face on recovery, and this is the festival type. This is what we want to do at the park. We've got 3 bands coming in, some great bands, some great music. We have food vendors coming in, other agencies coming in, local businesses coming in to have the booth to sell their wares. But we're going to have a kind of a festival type atmosphere at the park, with the understanding that we're putting a positive face on recovery. And there it is right there.
You're going to see these posters all over town, and probably have seen some already, but just mark it down, September 27th. Mark that down on your calendar from 9 until 4.
Yeah.
That's Saturday there at the park in Central Point.
Yep.
What a great thing.
And what's really cool, we're going to kick off this 2-day event, and this is exciting. We're going to kick off the 2-day event with a softball game between the police department and the fire department. We're going to have it at Fagoni Field right now. That's our location, and it's going to be called Guns and Hoses. It's going to be free to the public.
Guns and
Isn't that
hoses.
great? And what's so cool, the police chief, Chris Allison over at Central Point, she is such a, she's so cool.
Yeah.
And she goes, we want to be a part of this.
Okay.
And we're finding out the more people hear about what the foundation wants to do in reference to the youth.
Yeah.
We still have our peer mentoring for the adult division, but we have felt the overwhelming need, and we're hearing churches and we're hearing other people call up and say, do you have anything for youth?
Now, I don't know how much you can share with us, but just give us an example, 11 to 17, what's happening.
Well, right now, without divulging any names, but right now we have 2 14-year-olds at our office coming in for counseling. I don't want to turn them away. They really have no place to go. So those 2 14-year-olds both have tried meth and heroin. We have a 16-year-old alcoholic, and we just got word that we have a 12-year-old that has tried meth at the age of 10 from an older sibling.
How does this happen, Doug?
Life? Possibly home life. Possibly just the peer pressure of wanting to fit in, wanting to belong somewhere, you know. And so
So what's your program? What happens when a student at that age comes to you? What do you do?
Well, right now we have to do another training, which is coming in October for that development for the youth division. But the peer mentoring is almost going to be similar to a big brother, big sister. We're going to invest our life and our time into these young people, and it's just not teaching them about drug addiction, but these kids need a friend. These young people need someone to guide them along in their pathway to recovery, or they're just their pathway, to help them with school, to be their buddy type of thing, to let them know that they have a place to come and give an ear to share their frustrations or their fears. And that's what the peer mentoring does.
Well, folks, look, Foundations for Recovery is working, and working very, very well, especially on the adult. That's where you've kind of cut your teeth and got it going.
Absolutely.
But you're doing drug, alcohol, addiction, all of those kinds of things. And more people are coming through your program out the other end, not only, under control, but many of them with a relationship with Christ.
Absolutely, and that's the key. You know, when some,
and here you get the community recognizing that.
Exactly, and what we get also, Perry, is people in our community. We've got some wonderful support. You know, R.A. Murphy Construction. You know, Reed and the gang over there.
Great.
Bobby O's Pizza. Rick and Joy Dietz, who just opened another store in Medford, and I can't wait to go pass out flyers over there. But Bumgarner Landscape, and just the wonderful community coming together of saying, you know what, we believe in you. We need you to help us, and that's why we're here. And one of the things that we're also finding out is that as we get the young person or the young adult clean and sober, then we also see the need to restore the family. So we do have 2 family therapists at our agency offering marriage counseling, relationship counseling as well. So it's just not peer mentoring for drug addiction. That's the key there, but it's also to restore the family. Almost like the holistic approach of wellness. Well,
it's just amazing. And now you're going to do peer mentoring with youth 11 to 17. I mean, what's next?
Our own building.
Yeah, well, I know that one. I know that. That's incredible.
Yeah, we want to work with the schools, and we want to work with the youth groups. And if someone is watching, and you go to your pastor, you go to your youth pastor, and say, call the foundation. We want to come to your church. We want to present our program to you, to the youth group, to the churches.
So how
there.
would a youth pastor benefit from this?
Oh, by giving us an opportunity to share the pitfalls, the warning signs.
The warning signs.
And the understanding of what drug and alcohol, what it does. If you open the door to that. And, we mentioned something regarding what Foundation is. It's faith-based. But when someone walks through the door and they don't have the same belief we do, we don't turn them away. We're there to guide them along their pathway to recovery. But one of the unique things that happens in this one-on-one counseling, Perry, is they reconnect their faith. They realize they cannot do recovery without faith. And it's important. And our coaches are there to guide them to reconnect with their faith. It's a cool program.
The other thing I really appreciate what you're doing is you have people that have come through your program, gone through the recovery, got their life together, back on track, firm foundation with God, you turn around and grab that person and put them right back in here as mentors.
Absolutely. And here's the cool thing.
Yeah.
Peer support services are being recognized in the state of Oregon, not just the state of Oregon, but nationwide. Peer support services are now being recognized through Oregon Health Plan as a viable option for healthcare.
Well, your success numbers are way off the charts.
Yeah.
I mean, what's your percentage?
Well, right now we're pushing about 52-54% for success.
And normally?
Normally, group therapy rate ranges around from 3 to 5% success rate.
3 to 5%, and you're above 50.
Yeah, we're about 10 times over than the national average. And that's the key. Because you take someone that's been there, you know, put somebody across that couch from you who's trying to lie to a recovered alcoholic or addict. They know.
They know.
They can pick up the warning signs.
And they know the manipulation and all that stuff.
Sure.
All right, listen, a couple things here. First of all, congratulations on your
Thank you.
award. And this is just this is citizen recognition, folks, that this program works.
A lot of hard work.
And boy, I tell you what, if you're looking for a place to serve and you have come through this, you get a hold of Doug.
Amen.
They can use help.
Amen.
But more importantly, let's really pack this place out. Coming up September 27th. It's going to be Saturday at the park. Which park is it?
It's a Robert Pfaff Park right behind the post office.
There in Central Point.
And we're going to kick off the 2-day event with Battle of the Badge, Police Against Fire, Guns and Hoses.
Guns and
That's
exactly. Great. We need to get a song now that goes with that.
You know what's so funny? I went by the police department, Perry, and I showed the flyer. One of the lieutenants was and says, no, it should be called Guns and Hosers.
Really?
That's what the police said. Anyway, it's going to be a great event. We're going to have a great time.
And softball between the police and the fire. That ought to be a hoot.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say to your sponsors, Reed Murphy, you've got Bobbio's, Orleys, Milello's,
CSA Consulting. Bobbio's, yeah.
Well, anyway,
just wonderful people.
Getting behind it because you're doing it. And I tell you, I don't think, Doug, that we understand how, number one, how big the problem is. Number two, that it does impact kids clear down to 11, if not even younger.
Absolutely.
And that's what happens. So, and if you are you looking for help?
We are. We have another academy training coming up in October for peer coaching and for mentoring. And we're also looking for help in the community, you know, as well as I do, Perry. We're solely primarily funded by people in the community, you know, writing that check or going online and making a donation. We're also in need of some items or computers that we're going to be doing for the youth. We also need of a large commercial copier. We had a copier donated by an attorney firm, but it turned out to be all black and white.
Oh, okay.
So we need help.
All right. How do they get a hold of you?
245-HOPE, 541-245-HOPE, which is 4673. Come down to the Woolworth building. We're on floor 4, 419.
And do you have an online? Where do they go to support you?
Lovefoundations.com. Lovefoundations.com.
Lovefoundations.com and support them. These guys do it hands-on. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, Perry.
To you, and congratulations. All right, we'll see you next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.